DMs, what's the most obvious hint your players missed? Let us know in the comments below. We had a whole plot about werewolves, and I mentioned the current phase of the full moon about a gazillion times. They were not even remotely prepared for the next werewolf attack on a full moon. I made a Star Wars Episode 1 one-off. They didn't recognize it, so I kept going. Episode 2, Clone Wars, still no recognition. Episode 3 came, and the OWXB literally said, "It's over. I have the high ground," in a lava field. Nothing. Got through Rebels, Rogue One, Episode 4, had Darth Vader, who was Padme because they went back and killed Anakin, show up to their ice base, and Han say, "The tunnel is blocked. I'll get them out on the Hawk," before someone said, "Wait, is this Hoth?" 3 years of constant hints. Hell, Yoda was a green gnome wizard named Adoy, capitalized like that fought an evil emperor who was pretending to be a regular politician. Players find a black iron statue of a skull. The statue is surrounded by charred bones and ashes. One of the dummies decide to touch the black iron statue. They succeed a saving throw and get blasted backwards. So they touch it again, fail the save, and are disintegrated. The player looks at me dead in the eyes and says, "That was really dumb. What the heck was I thinking?" D&D players usually can't figure out that a key opens a locked door in the same room. So, don't beat yourself up if they can't figure out something more complex than drinking water as a cure for dehydration. And I wouldn't even bet on that. For every single mystery you try to put in front of them, you will need about double the amount of hints that you think you need. Also, that isn't obvious, borderline at best. Only works if they've heard the name many times. Players aren't picking up on any of the hints, Time to roll insight, perception, etc. as appropriate for the situation until they learn something new. A PC with +5 intelligence will solve puzzles more easily if they get to roll on occasion to use that intelligence. Otherwise, you're counting on player intelligence, which is rarely +5. Hints seem obvious to those of us who already know the answer. 2 things come to mind. One is currently ongoing, so I hope none of those players are on here and recognize me or recognize the story as I tell it. 1. I had a quest giver that was purposefully very meta, and their theme and magic and whole deal was centered around storytelling and spirits telling them ancient stories. For over a dozen sessions, I had the quest giver either declare operation names or I made the actual title of the session something that was always very literally thematic. The bit was that each and every hint was a step in the archetypical hero's journey, and it was happening all in order. Heck, I even made the tavern that became the base for the quest giver be called the Crossed Threshold Nightclub. It took until the point that they had learned the quest giver's enigmatic and eldritch mentor was attempting to revive himself using the quest giver's life that I had the meta element of the campaign literally drop a copy of the hero's journey at the PC's feet and flip open to the next step. The Resurrection. And while this may still be a not-so-obvious series of hints to everyone, 2/3 of the table were English majors or theater performing arts majors. Yeah! And number 2, I'm running an espionage plotline. I have a faction of enemy spies that all take code names, very Baroque work style. And all female spies take a code name after a number, like Miss 8 or Lady 11. Absolutely none of the PCs have noticed many friendly female NPCs or non-affiliated spies I have integrated around them, whose names are just numbers in non-English languages. One of the players has taken it upon themselves to have their PC fall deeply in love with one of them. Me, a powerful vampire, is after this young woman. You should protect her and be wary of his charms. Remember, she's safe here, as vampires can't enter a place they don't own without being invited in. Vampire wearing Groucho Marx glasses.
Good evening. I am but a humble merchant. You haven't seen my shop because I travel. And I only travel at night through these dangerous woods because it's cooler, and I'm used to the cold. I don't get a lot of sunlight, so my skin is pale. Now, may I please come in to show you my wares?"
The party. Hey, wait a second! We haven't had a good shopping session in weeks! Let this well-dressed polite man in. This is gonna be a long campaign, isn't it? Last week, my players encountered a purple worm they knew was being controlled psionically by an unknown intelligence. The room had 5 pillars supporting the ceiling, and Wormy immediately destroyed one of them before the combat started. I described how the ceiling started to collapse there, but it still looked intact above the other 4 pillars. I was hoping they would realize that if all of the pillars were destroyed, the ceiling would cave in on them. The party spent the next 2-player activations destroying the rest of the pillars. I'm still not sure why. Rocks fell. I rolled 10d10 damage, and the players all took 41 damage, 3 ones in a row for damage dice. Wormy looked mildly annoyed with its resistance to bludgeoning damage and its burrowing speed. Early in a campaign, I introduced the players to a 6-year-old little girl and her mother who were being tormented by a ghost. As the party investigated, they determined the ghost was the father of the little girl, husband of the mother. The daughter avoided being in the same room as the mother, but was otherwise a normal child. Bright eyes, long straight dark hair, and a smile that looked like she had a secret to tell that made her very happy. The daughter was practically a Disney princess, always playing with bunnies, cats, puppies, squirrels, and other small animals. It seemed like every day she had a new following close behind her. The mother had been having headaches, acting strangely, and was showing signs of lost time. And the people of the town commented on her odd behavior since her husband died. Crying and laughing at the same time, speaking in tongues, outsized over and under reaction to situations in daily life, sensitivity to light, and holy symbols. Dead animals had been showing up on strange little altars around town where the children play too. In the family barn, the party found a hidden study that the father had been using for research. Occult books and bizarre notes were scattered all about the desk, and notes were scribbled on every loose piece of parchment. Books about demon and devil influences on people and the world were everywhere. Some with sections ripped out, others marked to emphasize certain passages, other passages scribbled out beyond any hope of being read again. The father's notes that could be deciphered said, "Pure evil, born of 1,000 devils, so young. Evil bitch, afflicted from birth, and of all life, must save her. Awakening, 6 years after, blood-bound sacrifice. Too late, gods help us." The rest was missing, gibberish, or indecipherable. Putting the puzzle together, the party decided quickly and incorrectly with the bits and pieces of evidence scattered around their home to conclude the mother was the one talked about in the notes, that she had killed the father and had plans to do the same to the daughter and awaken the devil inside of her. The daughter was, in fact, the big bad evil guy, the vessel of an awakened and fully aware unholy scion with 35 class levels, in addition to being mere days away from completing the process to become a lich. The party conducted a ritual of banishment on the ghost and an exorcism on the mother, then went on to explore the nearby cave they had been sent to investigate. 2 days in the cave, and they decided to head back to the town, only to find everything burned to the ground and the little girl crying in the ashes covered in blood. She told them horrible men with bat wings and lizard tails had burst from flaming holes in the ground and killed everyone. That is how the party adopted the big bad evil guy, and then basically traveled with her as their team mascot. For 4 years! Oh my god. Tell me about the reveal, I need to know! They were trying to bust someone out of a dungeon prison in which another NPC got jailed earlier was also locked up. That NPC was ranting about how he should be allowed to go, but he couldn't because the dungeon master thinks I might know something. Let's be clear, I telegraphed several hints before this. I was not subtle, or so I thought. So they negotiated his release without talking to him. He just walked out, along with his secrets. Then they got their friend out of the dungeon too, after hijinks. And for what it's worth, I did find other ways to get them the info they needed from the first inmate. But honestly, the dungeon master thinks I might know something. I wouldn't have gone that far, but we were at a point where we had to drive forward, and I needed to give them a nudge. They refused to be nudged. It was hilarious. Not the DM, but we cleared a dungeon where, near the end, a bad guy was standing near a lever and ready to flip it. We killed him before he could, and then wanted to know what the lever did. God. So we tried to flip it ourselves. It was our first session, and the DM didn't want to TPK us right off the bat. It was a trap that definitely would have killed us, so he said it was stuck. We spent the next 10 plus minutes trying to get that lever to move while he kept trying to convince us not to do it. Players kidnapped an NPC to keep them safe and brought them to a dungeon with them, unwilling to drop a quest due to greed. Me, knowing that the 10 HP NPC had a 99% chance of dying there, had them, in character, look at the party in the eyes and say, "If you force me to go with you, I will die." Party proceeds to take the NPC with them. Dies. Surprised Pikachu face. How were we supposed to know? Context clues, idiot. I was running Lost Mine of Phandelver this year, high five, and when the party cleared out the Red Brand hideout, I had the doppelganger disguised as a small child. The party had already encountered the doppelganger earlier, and were super suspicious, but they kept rolling really bad on their insight checks. They decide to rescue the boy as well as the goblin Droop from the book. I planned on having the doppelganger murder Droop during a long rest, using an axe the barbarian gifted him. After he killed Droop, he would flee to Cragmaw Castle and warn them of the party headed their way. I didn't want to just immediately have the betrayal happen, so the two NPCs traveled with the party for a few days while they did some side quests. I wanted to add something more interesting than a random encounter while traveling, so I pulled a magical tavern from a post I found on a DM subreddit. This tavern appears in various places around the world, and it serves food that gives players different visions and buffs for the day. One player chose the meal that is supposed to give them warnings about a danger they'd come across in their future. While they were having these visions, I kept mentioning that they kept seeing the little boy they rescued standing over a bloody corpse, axe in hand. I made it very clear that when the characters saw the boy in the visions, they felt a great evil. After the party left the tavern, the player who saw the vision never spoke of it again. And 2 long rests later, the goblin was murdered, and the doppelganger ran away scot-free, much to the shock of my players. Oh my god, that one guy though probably felt so dumb. I'm assuming the crystal entity was trying to say they are, or at least are connected to, the Weaver of Wraiths by showing a ghost and a piece of fabric. If you didn't specify the cloth as a woven cloth, I can see this being easy to miss. Even with that info, it's pretty easy to miss. If the entity can communicate with visions, why not show someone actually in the act of weaving? Perhaps a loom. Hey everyone, Brian Von VA checking in after the video. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, let us know in the comments below. DMs, what's the most obvious hint your players have missed? And of course, if you ever want to support the channel, do so by joining our membership program. You get early access to videos, we get to keep the lights on running. And of course, from me to all of you. The world's a bit crazy right now, and I just want everyone to take a step back, listen on in, and know that we love you and that your opinions, your emotions, they're all valid. See you next time. Toodaloo for now.